If you want to make food when you're out in the woods, one of the nicest things you can make is bannock. You can cook it in 100 different ways. You can just mix it up together and wrap it around the green end of a stick and cook it in spirals, or you can do what I like to do. I like to make little cupcakes out of bannock, and then I can make savoury or sweet ones, and they're small enough that they're easy to turn over. Because one of the biggest problems with bannock is cooking it and it being all gooey on the inside. So you can't make it too thick, otherwise it won't cook through, because you've only got a fire to cook it with. So we're going to make some savoury bannock and some sweet bannock. We're going to start off with the sweet bannock. It's a basic bannock mixture with some cinnamon and some sultanas in it, and it makes really great little cakes. So we're going to make the basic bannock mix so you can see what you're looking at, and I'm just going to make it with plain flour and bicarbonate of soda and water. So yeah, we'll get on with it, we'll do it, and I'll show you how it's done. So all you need is a cheap food saver, which is good for transporting small bags of different herbs and spices anyway, and you can keep stuff dry in it, so it's well worth having a few of these in your pack. And you need to put in, I don't know, a few tablespoons of flour and a teaspoon of baking soda, which usually comes, or bicarbonate of soda. Bicarbonate of soda is like baking soda, it's just got more bicarb, which is the actual raising agent, and you only need a teaspoon in there. I'm just going to put a teaspoon in. There you go. And we're going to add some water, and you've got to add it a little bit at a time and stir it round until you get a doughy mixture. And don't worry if it gets too wet, you just add some more flour. Okay, and you want it at kind of this consistency, so it's like a very runny dough. That's pretty much it, and it will be very sticky. In fact, I'm going to add a little bit of flour. And a smidgen of water. So you want it very stiff, like a bread, well, it is a bread dough, so it's like a bread dough, so it starts taking all the flour off the bottom. You can see as you stir it around it comes cleanly off the bottom. So you could cook it like this, you could add some salt and pepper, you could add anything to it. The point of it is that it's always nicer when you've got something to add to it. So what I'm going to do is add some sultanas, a couple of tablespoons of sultanas for this level of mix, a few more, cinnamon in a little baggie, just going to add about a tablespoon in there, or a teaspoon rather. So you get this kind of mix. Let's give it a good stir. Let's get all the spices all the way through the bannock. It's kind of like cookie dough. There's no point cooking anything on a segment about cooking if you don't want to eat it. So there you've got your bannock with everything stirred in, some nice spices. And that's your basic bannock mix. And all you do, what I do then, is typically put it in a patty tin. And I'm just going to take a little bit of marge on my fingers, like this. Just going to grease every single tin because you need to turn it over to cook it through thoroughly. You can carry marge with you safely for weeks in a small plastic tub as long as it's sealed from the elements and it doesn't get wet or get the opportunity to get overly wet. But you want to really well grease these tins so that you get an even coating of fat, whatever you're going to use. Margarine's a bit more transportable. That's pretty much it. It's worth noting that you should wash your hands. And you put a tablespoon of bannock in each tin because it's going to continue to expand. It's quite sticky. There's no set amount. You want to evenly distribute it so that it's going to cook relatively at the same time, so when you come to turn them over, they're going to need turning at about the same time. So there's your tray of bannock. So we're going to now go and put this on the campfire, and you'll probably notice that I'm not in the woods, because although I can make this in the woods, and I have done, and it's very nice to make first thing in the morning so you can have something with your coffee, it's absolute murder trying to film without a level surface and trying to cook. So I'm actually at a friend's encampment, and they've got a picnic table and a decent campfire. So we're going to go and put this on the fire now. And I've just balanced these over the fire. You can probably already hear the fat starting to melt and starting to cook the bannock a little bit. And you'll notice that the bannock is already expanding. So once they're cooked on one side, I'll turn them over. It takes about 3 or 4 minutes a side. And we'll come back to it when I flip them over. So here's my bannock after a couple of turns over. You'll notice that you do tend to burn a little bit of it because you're cooking on fire, but you can always scrape off the burnt stuff. We're just making sure it's cooking all the way through so there's no doughy centre to it. But it's all a matter of experimentation. But that's largely bannock. This is a very simple recipe. So it's just bicarbonate of soda, some flour, and then water and whatever else you want to add, and you can make these little cakes. And they only take about 10 minutes, and it's well worth trying something unusual or interesting when you're doing campfire cooking. So let me know how it works out for you, and I hope you enjoy it. I'll possibly come back with some images of I'm going to try doing some savoury bannock and some chocolate chip bannock. And here's the finished article. Unfortunately I've burnt a few of them, but it's a very, very interesting way of making bread with your own in. I ended up making some cinnamon ones, some garlic and herb, and some chocolate chip ones. As always, if you're doing sweet bannock, don't forget the sugar. And that's about it. Hope you've enjoyed it.